Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're enthusiastically unpacking the science, the methodologies, and the honestly incredible evolution of measuring triglycerides in biological samples. If you work in a lab, or, if you're just fascinated by how we track human health at a molecular level, you already know lipid quantification is basically foundational. But the way we actually do it, it's changing rapidly. We're shifting away from classic chemical methods and moving towards some truly mind-blowing nanotechnology.
So let's run through our agenda for today. We've got 5 parts. Section 1, the triglyceride threat. Section 2, the enzymatic standard. Section 3, the free glycerol imposter. Section 4, advanced mass spectrometry. And finally, Section 5, the biosensor revolution.
All right, diving right in. Section 1, the triglyceride threat.
We always have to stop and ask ourselves, why does this actually matter? Well, triglycerides are fatty acid esters of glycerol, which is basically just a major energy source for your body. But when you have too much of them, they turn into a serious hazard. Elevated triglycerides are key biomarkers, strongly linked to severe vascular disorders. We're talking about atherosclerosis, where plaque just builds up in your arteries, potentially leading to a stroke or a heart attack. Extremely high levels can even trigger pancreatitis, a super severe inflammation of the pancreas. So simply put, measuring them accurately isn't just a lab exercise, it's quite literally a matter of life and death. To put that into perspective, the American Heart Association has very clear thresholds for this danger zone. A normal reading is anything less than 150 milligrams per deciliter. But once a patient crosses that 200 mark, boom, they're in the high category, and anything above 500 is considered very high risk. We absolutely must have diagnostic tools that can reliably detect these levels long before a patient ever reaches that dangerous 500 mark.
Moving on to Section 2, the enzymatic standard. To see how labs traditionally tackle this, let's look at the complete experiment presented by Dr. Kim on triglyceride estimation. The standard enzymatic kit relies on this really neat 3-step biochemical cascade. First, an enzyme called lipase is introduced, and its job is to break the triglycerides apart into free fatty acids and a glycerol backbone. Next, secondary enzymes, like glycerol kinase and oxidase, are sent in to react specifically with that released glycerol. Finally, this reaction produces a byproduct, usually hydrogen peroxide, which then triggers a measurable color change or a fluorescent signal. That light or color intensity, it acts as a direct proxy for the amount of triglycerides that were originally in the sample.
Now, looking at this data from a Promega triglyceride glow assay, you can see a massive difference in the light signal produced when the lipase enzyme is actually in there doing its job. By looking at the gap between the sample run without lipase, which is just measuring background glycerol, and the sample run with lipase, lab techs can calculate the true amount of glycerol that was safely bound up as triglycerides. But here's where things get tricky. Section 3, the free glycerol imposter. So, the crucial plot twist here is that your basic kits, they cannot tell the difference between the glycerol we specifically released from our target triglycerides and the free glycerol imposters that are just naturally hanging out in the blood. If a biological sample, like plasma or serum, is poorly stored, or if the patient just naturally has high free glycerol, that free-floating glycerol is going to react with the secondary enzymes in the kit anyway. It's kind of like trying to count only the people who took off their hats inside a room, but your machine is accidentally counting all the people who walked in already holding hats. The machine just reads that final color change. It has literally zero idea where the glycerol originally came from. And this quote from Creative Proteomics really hits the nail on the head regarding the danger of low specificity. If your kit is blindly measuring total glycerol without accurately subtracting that free glycerol background, what else are you measuring? You're measuring an imposter. And if we measure the imposter, we might artificially inflate a patient's cardiovascular risk reading. That easily leads to misdiagnoses and totally unnecessary treatments.
Which brings us to our heavy artillery, Section 4, Advanced Mass Spectrometry.
By utilizing liquid chromatography with tandem mass spectrometry, or LC-MS/MS, we can bypass that annoying glycerol problem entirely. First, the liquid chromatography physically sorts the intact lipid molecules based on their fatty acid chain lengths and double bonds. Then, the first mass spectrometer, MS1, identifies the overall mass of the intact triglyceride molecule. Finally, MS2 physically smashes the molecule apart into fragments, revealing the precise individual fatty acid chains. This lets us perfectly identify and quantify specific triglycerides with absolutely zero free glycerol interference. It is highly specific, incredibly accurate, and leaves no room for imposters.
But mass spec requires massive, expensive lab equipment. So what's next? Section 5,
The biosensor revolution. Right now, researchers are actively combining biology and nanotechnology to create rapid on-site biosensors. The goal is to trap, or immobilize, those lipolytic enzymes onto a physical support that can directly read the biological reaction and turn it into an electrical or optical signal. Early attempts actually used natural membranes like eggshells. Pretty wild, right? They were biocompatible but unfortunately prone to getting fouled or clogged up. Now, scientists are moving to flexible conducting polymers and even super advanced nanomaterials like zinc oxide and carbon nanotubes. These nanomaterials offer a massive surface area and are highly electrocatalytic, meaning they can detect minute biochemical changes almost instantly.
And this is where Dr. Kem's complete experiment truly shines as a brilliant recent example of this evolution. They presented a novel, low-cost, microfluidic biosensor prototype that cleverly immobilizes a lipolytic enzyme onto an ethylene vinyl acetate polymer support. What's so fascinating is that it uses an Arduino-based spectrophotometric transducer and p-nitrophenol as an indicator to estimate the fatty acid release. And it does this effectively, detecting levels directly from 7.6 to over 58 milligrams per deciliter, all without even needing to dilute the sample. Honestly, eliminating that dilution step solves a huge logistical hurdle and rapid point-of-care testing.
When rigorously tested, this specific microfluidic prototype achieved an impressive recovery percentage of 81.12%. But even better, it had a tiny variation coefficient of just 0.791%. That means its results are incredibly consistent and reliable. This isn't just some fun science project. This data proves that affordable, miniaturized, polymer-based tech can genuinely rival those traditional expensive laboratory kits when it comes to stability and reproducibility. So as we look back at this rapid evolution, from complex chemical titrations and giant mass spectrometers, all the way down to microfluidics and nanotechnology, we have to ask ourselves a pretty profound question. How soon will this biosensor revolution put the power of cardiovascular diagnostics right in the palm of our hands? Imagine waking up, checking your triglycerides as easily as you might check your blood sugar, and adjusting your health decisions on the spot. The science is already here. It feels like it's just a matter of time. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the science around you.